All right, let's dive in. What we're about to explore isn't just a story, it's a modern parable. We're going to trace the descent of a figure named Salvio Pálido, and we're going to witness a transformation so profound, so dark, it really challenges our whole idea of what salvation even is. And this quote, this is really the perfect place to start because it cuts right to the heart of the crisis. It's about that exact moment when your life's entire foundation just snaps. That rope of rigid law of all the rules you live by, it breaks. And for the very first time, the abyss below is seen for exactly what it is. So that breaking rope, it brings us to the first act of this parable, the honest sound. And this isn't a sound you hear with your ears. It's the sound of a carefully built reality, a whole system of belief just shattering into a million pieces. It's the sound of truth, finally arriving. So picture this. We find Salvio Pálido just paralyzed in a black ebony room. He calls it his sanctuary, but it's an unearned one. A fragile fortress built on denial, not on real strength. And in this moment, the walls that were supposed to keep the abyss out, they don't just crack, they completely shatter. Now, at the center of this whole collapse is the uncanny mirror. And you have to understand this mirror was never meant for honest reflection. Its whole job was to deny the abyss, to reflect back a comfortable, easy lie. So when it shatters, it's not a tragedy. It's the arrival of a brutal, unavoidable truth. The illusion is over. And this new, brutal reality reveals something called the ledger of the great evening. Think of it like a final accounting. Every single effort, every achievement of his followers, the long-tired, is weighed and then judged as worthless. It reveals a universe that is heavy, deaf, and just finished. But here's where it gets really weird. In this moment of total loss, he doesn't despair. No, Pálido fiercely affirms the emptiness. He embraces the void. And in this incredible act of renunciation, he casts off his white robes, shedding the whole identity of the pale redeemer, the architect of that gilded cage. That man is gone. He's dead. But just rejecting the old self, that isn't enough. From the ashes of his former life, Pálido begins to consciously build something new, something so much more menacing. He's embarking on a predatory mission. And this comparison right here shows you the chilling scale of this change. The pale redeemer becomes the uncanny wanderer. The man who offered immunity from risk now carries the spirit of contempt as his guide. This isn't some fall from grace. This is a deliberate, inverted hero's journey away from the light. The very colors of his new mantle are a philosophy in themselves. The gold isn't a sign of value, it's a shield to hide from the harsh sun of true awareness. And the purple? That's the color of a bruise, the bruised purple of the great noon, where all human ambition just ends in a pool of gore. So now, cloaked in this new predatory purpose, he leaves the ruins and enters the abbey's garden. But this is no paradise. It's a poisonous field of hubris, a sterile, artificial sanctuary designed to protect the elite from the coming rot of reality. And it's here, in this garden of lies, that the final stage of his transformation begins. This is where he finds his new power. This is the dark baptism that's going to complete his metamorphosis into the violet adversary. As he walks through this field of hubris, something catches the light, a shard from the shattered mirror, the very thing that caused his painful awakening. But it doesn't reflect an image. Instead, it refracts this strange, violet aura. Now, this violet energy is the frequency of transformation. A true mystic might use it to achieve enlightenment. But Pálido, he performs what can only be called a Faustian inversion. He seizes this power not to elevate potential, but to become its sworn enemy, the violet adversary of the Übermensch. And he fuels this new power with a really monstrous act of vampirism. He literally absorbs the stolen vitality of the very same congregation he used to lead. The transformative violet flame doesn't radiate out, it collapses inward, becoming a spiritual black hole with Pálido right at its dead center. And just like that, the transformation is complete. He is now the redeemed judge. But he's not redeemed from sin, he's redeemed from the burden of even having to look for meaning. And his only verdict, his final judgment on all of creation, is that existence itself is an error. So now, armed with this horrifying new power, Pálido turns his attention outward. He starts to preach a new creed, the gospel of the belly, and it's a doctrine designed specifically to corrupt the ambitious and the strong. He takes on this new role of the uncanny last man, a figure of ultimate decay. But he's no simple nihilist. He is a specialized predator who studies the overman, the absolute pinnacle of human potential, for one reason and one reason only: to find its weaknesses and corrupt its creative will from the inside out. And his method is just chillingly systematic. First, he tracks a soul in motion, anyone who's striving for greatness. Second, he injects a single, fatal drop of doubt to stop them in their tracks. Third, he dismantles their will to endure, making any hardship seem totally pointless. And finally, he guides them to the great refusal, encouraging them to just reject their own power and their individual sovereignty. His primary weapon is his masterful rhetoric. He doesn't command, he whispers. He becomes that internal jester, whispering that the weight of freedom is just an unbearable burden. He convinces the strivers that their unique identity is just fuel for the system, and that their best move is to simply put the weight down. So, what does all this mean? I mean, Pálido's journey is so much more than one man's fall. In this final section, we're going to explore his ultimate symbolic purpose. He is, in a way, the indispensable shadow. Pálido becomes more than a man. He's like a prophecy in human form, a shadow savior. He doesn't promise glory or transcendence. He offers something far more seductive to the long-tired: safety, comfort, and stagnation. He preaches that this escape from the struggle is the only real salvation. His entire existence is basically an autopsy of the holy yes, a cold, hard examination of why we strive at all. His journey is meant to show a terrifying possibility: that what we call the will to power is often just a will to distraction, a desperate attempt to ignore the void that he has chosen to embrace. And this all leads to the cold, simple math of the last man. After all the struggle, after the agony of creation and the pain of becoming, what's the final sum? In his gospel, the variable is 0. And this becomes his final sermon, his most poisonous and tempting whisper to anyone who dreams of more. Greatness is too expensive. The cost is just too high for a reward that adds up to nothing. So why not choose the soft earth of unearned security instead? And so we're left with this chilling question. Is this uncanny wanderer, this prophet of apathy, is he merely a sign of the world's end? Or is his shadow indispensable? Is he the ultimate trial that any true creative will has to overcome to prove it even deserves to exist? Is his darkness not the end, but the necessary crucible for new beginning?